Hi everyone, welcome back. Bex here today. I'm filming my NEWTs Magical Readathon TBR and I am so excited because I have been, like many of you, looking forward to this for quite some time. If you're wondering what on earth the NEWTs are, I will link the host, G, from Book Roast's video down below where she talks about the NEWTs for 2019, and you can sort of follow the video trail to learn a bit more about what NEWTs are, what owls are, and sort of all of the different pieces that come together to make this magical readathon happen. Before I talk about the books I'll be reading next month, I wanted to do a little review of where I ended up after owls. So for owls in April, I decided to focus on being a ministry worker because there was 5 owls that needed to be passed, and I thought that was pretty doable for me. And then also because there was a bunch of different departments that you could focus on, so you could get a little bit more creative with your career path than just having one choice and being stuck with that. So for owls, to be a ministry worker, I had to pass at least 5 owls, and they were Charms, Defense Against the Dark Arts, History of Magic, Potions, and Transfiguration. I managed to pass all 5 of them. I read 5 books in April, which was a pretty good feat for me because I never read 5 books in a month. Working from that and the fact that I did pass the 5 basic owls that are required, for NEWTs, I decided to focus on the Department of Magical Accidents and Catastrophes because that was one of the ones that worked with those 5 basic owls that you needed. In order to join that department, I need an outstanding in Charms, an acceptable in Defense Against the Dark Arts, an acceptable in Potions, and then an outstanding in Transfiguration. That translates to 8 books. If I manage to complete this, I will be thoroughly impressed with myself. It's been many years since I've read 8 books in a month, and I definitely have not done that since I became an adult who works full-time. This will be a really good challenge for me. Now let's move on to the corresponding challenges for each of the NEWTs that I need to get. So for Charms, that's our first subject. I need to get an outstanding, which means I need to get an acceptable and an exceeds expectations first. And I really like the challenge that this particular readathon has, because many times with readathons on BookTube you can kind of bend the rules, make it what you want, but for this one it really forces you to get down to business, because yeah, 8 books, need to read 2 of them before you can even get to the third one, that final bit that you need. For an A in Charms, I need to read a book that I think has a gorgeous cover, and for that I chose Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is actually the UK arc of the book, but I love the sort of rainbow coloring on this. It's got a really bright packaging. I love the font, and I also love the end papers, which have all of these tickets on them. This has been everywhere on BookTube. It is a BookTube darling at the moment. It is about a band in the 1970s, Daisy Jones and the Six, and the story is told through interview style format, sort of reflecting on the band and why they broke up. And because it's written in interview style, I feel like it'll be a pretty quick read, which is essential for me. For an exceeds expectations, I need to read a comic book, graphic novel, manga, or a book under 150 pages. I don't have any of those things on my normal to-be-read shelf. I don't even have a book under 150 pages right now. I will be reading Through the Woods by Emily Carroll, courtesy of my library. This is something I don't know much about. I basically just went on Goodreads and searched a few lists with short books, graphic novels, etc., and just found something that sort of piqued my interest. This was popular on BookTube a few years ago. I remember a number of people reading it. All I really know about this book is that it's a graphic novel and it's got some short creepy stories in it, and that's all I really need to know. It'll be great, it'll be a fast read, I'm sure I'll enjoy it. And then finally, to get my outstanding in Charms, I need to cast Spongify, which is the softening charm, and that's to read a paperback book. So that's easy. I got plenty of those on my shelf, so I just picked one that I was really in the mood to read because hopefully that'll make me read it faster. And I went with Transgender History, The Roots of Today's Revolution by Susan Stryker. I just hauled this book, so the need to read is very high. This book is a nonfiction book that looks at transgender history since the 19th century. It covers a wide range of topics from things like terms, very basic stuff, all the way up to medicalization and trans radicalism. So gonna be a very good crash course on transgender history, but I really want to read it, and so it'll be perfect for this readathon. Moving on to Defense Against the Dark Arts, I only need an acceptable in this, and that is a book that's black under the dust jacket. So for that, I have chosen Gathering Darkness by Morgan Rhodes, and I will show you black under the dust jacket just to, keep me true. I also really like the end pages for this as well. It's not anything special, but it's just kind of cool. Fits with the vibe of what we're going for with the black cover. Gathering Darkness is the third book in the Fallen Kingdom series. This is a YA fantasy series, and it follows a world where elemental magic has sort of disappeared, but it might be coming back. I read the first 2 books of this earlier this year, so I'm really happy that I'm going to be able to get to this one very soon. On to potions, I also only need an acceptable for this, so that is Polyjuice Potion, Read Your Friend's Favorite Book. And rather than asking Les, which would be the person I would go to for your friend's favorite book, I decided to actually go to Twitter and just see what people would give me for options. And I decided to go with The Silent Patient by Alex McAlides. I think that's how you say his last name. Apologies if it's not. This was actually recommended to me by Book Jar Journeys. She said she loved it, and I have seen it around on BookTube, and it sounds very interesting. It is sort of a psychological thriller, as far as I can tell. Basically, there's an artist. She's got a husband. One day, she decides to shoot her husband in the face 5 times and then never speak again. And the book is figuring out why on earth she decided to do that. Sounds creepy. I've heard only good things. I'm really happy that Book Jar Journeys said I should read this book because it sounds like something that I would really enjoy. I'll be listening to that on audiobook, which will be nice because I can sort of have that going while I'm reading a couple physical books as well. My last subject is Transfiguration, and for this I need to get an outstanding, so I have to read 3 books. For acceptable, I need to read a book with LGBTQA+ representation, so for that I will be reading I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. This is young adult contemporary. Had it on my shelf for a few years. I actually tried to read it a couple years ago and I was just not feeling it at the time, but I know so many people love this book. It follows twins, and we get to see their lives at 2 different time periods. So one is, I think when they're about 13, we follow one of the twins, and then when they're 16, we follow one of the other twins, and for some reason, when they're 16, they're no longer talking to each other. I know this has LGBT representation just from hearing people talk about it, and I also double checked on Goodreads just to make sure, and people said yes, it does. So I will be finally picking this up for this particular challenge. For Exceeds Expectations, I need to read a book that's not a first in a series, and it's perfect because I just hauled a book that was the second book in a series. That's The Rose Society by Marie Lu. This is young adult fantasy as well. This book has ginormous font, which I always appreciate during a readathon. I read the first book in this series earlier this year during the Femme Fatale readathon, and I was actually thoroughly impressed with it. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, which kind of sounds bad, but at least it surprised me in a good way. The fantasy land that we're in is sort of Venetian inspired, which I really enjoyed. And the first book follows a group of young people who call themselves the Young Elites, and they all have magical powers / superpowers, kind of cool stuff, like really unique, inventive powers. And we have our main character who joins this group after she sort of figures out a little bit later in life that she has these magical powers. The book ended on a very dark note, so I'm definitely curious to see where this goes. The last challenge that I have to attempt is for the outstanding in Transfiguration, and that is McGonagall Does Not Mess Around. Very true. Read a book with over 500 pages. Let me tell you, when I first saw this, I was like, oh shit, because there is no way I would be able to read a regular book with 500 pages on top of all these other books in a month. But then I remembered that I have Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. And this is mixed media, so it's gonna be so much faster to read than a regular 500-page book. It's actually a little over 600 pages, but it's gonna be a grand old time because I am just gonna fly through this baby. This series is very dark, very gritty, lots of people die. The characters from Illuminae and the characters from Gemina, which are the first and second books in the series, are finally gonna come together in Obsidio and hopefully take down this big bad corporation that's been doing a lot of harm to their lives. So there we have the 8 books that I will attempt to read in August. Absolutely no promises, but even if I don't make it into the Department of Magical Accidents and Catastrophes, at least I can just be a plain old ministry worker. If you guys are participating in NEWTs, I wish you the best of luck. Please let me know in the comments below what career you'll be focusing on. As always, all of our links are in the down bar. You can go check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.